Dr. Greenspan knew that there was real self-esteem and phony self-esteem. He knew that the real self-esteem came from experience and that phony self-esteem came from simple praise. Over the last many years, more and more research has shown actually that there is phony self-esteem and that simply giving praise to a child on specific outcomes or achievements, especially if they already have low self-esteem, doesn't work and actually can have the counter effect if they have low self-esteem. Children with low self-esteem who receive much praise end up interpreting it as the opposite, and they start thinking less of themselves. But more importantly, typically when parents, caregivers, and adults provide praise to a child, that praise is based on the outcome or even the process, but the parent or caregiver or adult was not actually involved in the process with them. So the experience itself was not something that was shared. So in order for a child to experience real self-esteem and develop that self-esteem, the pleasure and pride that the child experiences has to be from the participation with the adult, not simply in the adult praising them or congratulating them. The participation from the caregiver, the involvement, the child seeing the caregiver's interest is what stimulates the growth of that self-esteem and gives the child that pride and pleasure in the activity itself, in the process, not simply in the outcome itself. In addition, the participation needs to be around the child's interests. If we are directing the child to something, if we are teaching them something, while they may learn it and they may enjoy learning something from their caregiver, the activity or the interest itself is not part of who they are. It is not part of their identity. However, if they're interested in trains and we start playing or drawing or doing something else with trains, now our participation is around their interests, something they associate with themselves, not something with the outside world. So it's also key to make sure that we're participating in something that the child is already interested in, something that makes the child unique, something that makes the child who they are. This requires parents, caregivers, and adults alike getting on the floor and joining their child in their own pursuits. If they want to run around and make the best obstacle course or even show you how to push them on the swing in a very simple fashion. These activities are child-centered, child-motivated, and these are the activities that we need to encourage. By participating in simple motor activities or more complex art, music, or science activities with the child, depending on their interest. Any of these things, if they are based on the child's unique interests, will help breed that self-esteem if we participate with them and show that we are interested in what they are doing because they are doing it. If we do not spend the time to get on the floor, if we do not spend the time to join their world, if we do not spend the time to show them that we are interested in them, then that self-esteem that we're hoping to build does not develop the same way. They simply associate the outcomes of their work, the successes of what they achieve with their self-esteem, and unfortunately, we are not always successful. And then, when a child ultimately does not achieve success, it's heartbreaking, and they don't have the resilience, because it's not about the process, it's about the product we've been praising. It's also important not to overly praise. If we praise everything, then unfortunately the child doesn't differentiate, and praise ultimately means nothing. And equally as important as providing praise when a child does do something successful and around their own interests, it's important we're also there to support them during their failures. If they don't experience some failures early in life, then unfortunately the resiliency and the fortitude that they need later in life when failures ultimately will occur as well can be overwhelming, and instead of working through it and learning from it can cause us to shut down. All of this begins with actually the development of the body. As a child is developing their motor skills, as they're developing a sense of their body, where they are in space, and how that body can integrate within the rest of the world, how it actually has a cause and effect by pointing and grabbing and pushing and climbing and running and bouncing. Each of these things helps us develop a sense of mastery over the world around us. Early in life, because we don't have language, we're simply using our body to navigate the world. Again, it's very important that parents participate in this process by not just showing the child how to move their bodies, but joining the child in the activities where the child is moving their body and doing something like climbing up the ladder, or going down the slide, or figuring out how to pump their legs on the swing. Remember, again, it's not just about teaching the child to do these things, it's about helping the child figure it out with our support, our participation, our interest. So if we can show interest in the child's pursuits and what makes them unique, if we stop praising them on outcomes, but instead join them and participate in the process that they're engaging with them and show them that we're there to spend time with them because we are interested in them, now we have a recipe for growth.